Just when I thought I was out, you know the rest. The optics surrounding Bethesda right now are probably the worst the company has ever faced, and it's all courtesy of the bafflingly shoddy release of Fallout 76. Aside from the game having released in an unacceptable state that's unbecoming, even by Bethesda standards, the company has also been facing ire from the community after they pulled a little bait-and-switch deceptive marketing with Fallout 76's Power Armor Edition. As I'm sure most of you know by now, it was originally marketed to come with a nice sturdy canvas duffel bag, but instead, customers were dismayed to open the box and find a crappy nylon bag, which looks and feels like a glorified trash bag. Most egregious of all was Bethesda's numerous dismissive responses, with representatives stating ridiculous things like how they had run out of material, that customers should just be happy with the package they got, that canvas bags were too expensive to make, and that the company wouldn't do anything about it. More official channels like the official Fallout Twitter page only added fuel to the fire by noting how they understand and respect the disappointment, before offering an insultingly meager and opportunistic 500 atoms for Fallout 76's microtransactions marketplace as recompense, which isn't even enough currency to get a digital version of a canvas bag. One has to wonder how utterly disconnected, out of touch, and indifferent a company has to be to conceive an idiotic response like this. This feels less like a company genuinely trying to reach out to an upset crowd, and more like a company following legal and PR protocol. But as if this whole situation wasn't enough of a marketing disaster for Bethesda, another discovery has led to this whole controversy to escalate even further. What you're looking at here, ladies and gentlemen, is an image posted by website GamesRant, and what's being shown is a pretty fancy-looking Fallout 76 backpack. How is this bag relevant to the situation surrounding the Power Armor Edition duffel bag, you ask? Well, aside from this backpack being something Bethesda knowingly produced, and apart from it being a much nicer bag than what customers who paid $200 got, it turns out that a bunch of these were handed out for free exclusively to influencers and journalists. More specifically, they were handed out during the Fallout 76 preview event from early October, during which members of various outlets were flown to play 3 hours of the game and got some free goodies along the way. As a side note, I myself wasn't invited to that event, which is hardly surprising, so I don't have a backpack to show and compare, but just looking at it in this picture, it's quite clear that it's much higher quality than the nylon trash bag buyers of the collector's edition got. Now, influencers being flown out and getting free goodies while attending press events for an unreleased video game is nothing new. I myself remember getting flown to LA for the Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain review event and being gifted some free goodies like the Diamond Dog shirt you might see me wear from time to time, and Kaz Miller sunglasses that were at one point sold as separate merchandise. Hell, that Cyberpunk 2077 figurine you see sitting behind me every day was something that only those who were invited to the behind closed doors gameplay presentation at E3 2018 got. Literally every press event does something like this, so it's hardly surprising that those who attended Fallout 76's preview event got some freebies as well. It's also worth noting that the backpack is not the same product as the canvas duffel bag shown in the promotional material for the Power Armor Edition, and I would have to assume that the backpacks were always meant to be produced in limited quantities specifically for press events, while the duffel bags were meant to be produced in much larger quantities specifically for the collector's edition. So we're probably looking at two very different circumstances as far as production is concerned. With that said, none of this changes the fact that the optics of all this looks thoroughly dreadful for Bethesda. You've got influencers getting the royal treatment by being gifted these really nice fancy looking backpacks, but when Bethesda's biggest fans decide to shell out a whopping $200 for their game, the company not only replaces the originally advertised far superior canvas duffel bag with a shabby nylon trash bag without notice, on top of that, they also provide one of the most apathetic, dismissive, insulting, EA-level responses conceivable. The perception out there is that whereas Bethesda clearly put a lot of time and effort into ensuring that influencers who attended their events left content, they apparently couldn't be bothered to offer customers the same courtesy. They seemingly couldn't be bothered to properly address the scummy bait and switch for a collector's item, or hell, to even offer a service as basic as refunds to understandably disgruntled buyers. Instead, they're going around making vague, flimsy excuses for their blatant deception, like allegedly running out of material or canvas bags being too expensive. while Power Armor Edition buyers are forced to witness these really nice backpacks in the hands of a select few. Making matters worse is that these backpacks were not just distributed during the Fallout 76 preview event, a variation of it was also distributed during QuakeCon 2018 for members of the press, as was pointed out by YouTuber Mr. Matty Plays with this image as proof. Meaning that if you're an influencer who's liked by Bethesda enough to be invited to all their events, you may very well have gotten 2 really nice bags. But if you're a loyal customer who's willing to drop $200, you are left to bite the dust by receiving a highly compromised version of an expensive package. Not that I have anything against the influencers who got these freebies, mind you, as none of this is their fault. But from a consumer perspective, you can see how this might add salt to injury. Now, I'm not claiming there's some crazy conspiracy in which Bethesda went out of their way to cheapen out on the consumer's bags just so that the influencers could get the expensive ones. I feel like in the grand scheme of things, the backpacks and the duffel bags are entirely separate cases, and that they were produced under very different circumstances and plans in mind. I also understand that logistically it's probably easier to make 100 nice bags than it is to make 10,000 decent bags, with the latter being more prone to production problems. But even so, when there is such a perceptible dichotomy between how influencers were treated by Bethesda compared to how the customers who actually bought their product are being treated, it shouldn't come as a surprise that consumers might feel betrayed and look for ways to justify their sense of betrayal, regardless of the actual specific logistics behind the different bags and what might have gone wrong with the duffel bags. After all, we can see for ourselves that Bethesda is perfectly capable of producing high-quality bags when they actually try, that Bethesda wasn't way in over their heads by committing to these canvas duffel bags, which don't even look as nice, as impressive, as costly, or as intricate as the backpack influencers got. So from the outside looking in, it doesn't make sense that Bethesda seemingly had so much trouble producing canvas duffel bags that it warranted such a drastic downgrade. Not to mention that even if we assume that Bethesda really did somehow run out of canvas material, which truly sounds ridiculous without additional context, it doesn't change the fact that they chose not to inform consumers about the switch to an inferior item, and it doesn't change the fact that they later responded in a way that's unbecoming of any company who actually gives a damn about their customers. Imagine ordering a $200 package from Amazon or whatever, discovering one of its items is defective, and then only being offered a $5 coupon without a chance of refund. Under the circumstances, I cannot blame owners of the Power Armor Edition for looking at what Bethesda previously produced, regardless of the circumstances behind that, and begrudgingly wonder why they were baited out of getting something of similar quality or simply getting the thing they were promised, especially when Bethesda is doing such a piss-poor job communicating what exactly went wrong behind the scenes. The only way I feel Bethesda can even begin to make amends at this point is by either offering full refunds to anyone not satisfied with a collector's edition, or by sending out one of these backpacks or something of equal quality to collector's edition owners who request it. Or hell, even better, they could just send the canvas duffel bag shown in the promotional image that people should have gotten in the first place. Any of these potential solutions may come at a significant cost, and I'm not saying it would be easy or simple, but righting a wrong seldom is. And with the falsely marketed collector's edition being a wrongdoing of Bethesda's own making, it is up to the company to take responsibility for their own actions if they wish to regain a modicum of goodwill back after a disastrous launch week. I'm telling you, Bethesda, people are not just going to forget about this. They'll look back at this years down the line when you offer the next collector's edition, and they'll approach that with trepidation. And no, Bethesda handing out a chump change amount of Fallout 76 Monopoly money does not constitute taking responsibility. Au contraire, that's one of the most piss-poor attempts at a cop-out I have ever seen, and the entire gaming community saw right through that bullshit. This is straight up one of those rare cases where nothing would have been better than something. I'd much rather Bethesda not offer any recompense than have the audacity to offer $5 worth of useless microtransactions and pretend like they're being generous, especially when offering up atoms doesn't cost them a penny. Seriously, Bethesda, if you want to prove you still give a damn, if this is all some kind of big mistake, talk to the people you've thoroughly pissed off and offer them proper and well-deserved compensation for your lapse in judgment. Stop digging yourself a deeper hole. That's my take on the matter anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on what you think Bethesda should do to make up for their recent blunders in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.